AI can't say, I don't know. And that's a bigger leadership problem than most executives realize. Because when a system sounds confident, we tend to trust it, even when it's wrong. Today, I'm joined by Sol Rashidi, a 5-time C-suite executive, global AI and data leader, patent holder, and one of the most credible voices in the world on AI governance and human amplification. She's led large-scale AI transformations inside Fortune 100 organizations and advised companies at the highest levels on how to deploy this technology responsibly. In this conversation, we break down the difference between using AI and doing AI, why hallucinations are a judgment problem, not just a technical glitch, and why leaders who outsource thinking are setting themselves up to fail. If you care about AI, governance, and staying relevant as a leader, this one matters. Let's get into it. Welcome to the show, Sol.
Thank you for having me, Jason.
All right, it is drink coffee, do cool stuff. How do you take your coffee and why that way?
You know, you asked me this question a year ago. I would say black, no nonsense, get to the point. I want my caffeine rush and I want to hone in. And that's how I used to take my coffee. And now I found out I'm actually allergic to coffee beans. Ugh,
Oh, wait,
I know.
that's a dramatic tragedy. Okay,
Oh,
but I'm
no
listening.
idea. Like, the purpose of waking up and having that first cup of hot coffee and then getting in the zone was like my adrenaline addiction. And then, of course, as I'm aging, I'm just developing intolerances. And I'm like, I'm struggling from fatigue and brain fog. And I was like, all right, I'm older. Maybe this is part of it. But I couldn't shake something off. I'm like, no, something fundamentally is like different about this one. This one's extreme. Anyway, 2 years of testing, no joke. And then finally, when my doctor said, are you allergic to anything? I was like, no. And it's like, well, go take a test anyway, because you could be intolerant. Doesn't mean you're allergic.
Okay.
And that's when I found out black beans, coffee beans, pecans, peaches, dairy. And egg yolks and egg whites. So I would literally, and I've only kept in shape in my wise old age of almost 48,
Mm-hmm.
is because I would not eat. I would just have 2 cups of black coffee in the morning until 11. And then I would break my fast with
Okay.
boiled eggs. Turns out I'm highly intolerant to both. And that was what was causing the fatigue and causing some of the brain fog. So it's been sad, but since December of last year, 2024, by the way, I have not had a sip of coffee.
Oh,
It hurts my heart. I know, it sucks.
yeah. Uh, wow. So what I heard from that is, as we get older, we become more intolerant.
Oh, for sure. Psychologically, mentally, physically,
Just in general.
100%. And I don't care what people say. Tea doesn't cut it, but mushroom coffee is just dirt water. Matcha is the only thing that even comes close, but I've gained weight because you can't have matcha on its own. Like you get a black coffee, you have to add like milk
Right.
or oat milk. It's a whole nother mess. But a simple question turned out into a complicated response.
Well, a lot of life is like that.
That's true.
I love
True,
it.
true.
I think for me in the morning, it's the ritual, though. I think we have
Very
this
much so.
ritual of like, I get up, I center, I get present, I have
Yeah.
my coffee. I've mentioned on a few
Mhm.
episodes, I have an overly complicated coffee machine because it's like this grinder or that grinder this morning,
Oh, yeah.
and then this semi-automatic beast that I purchased from Germany once,
Uh-huh.
that I have to use to create it and go from there. But it's not the actual coffee, really. It is the ritual of it and that setting the pace and getting set for the day. For me, at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah. I mean, Folgers, I don't know if you remember the old Folgers commercials.
Oh,
They did a really good job of like, Folgers waking up. And they had that little jingle of like getting out of bed and then smelling the cup of coffee and like grabbing your first cup. I didn't understand it when the commercials first came out, but like as an adult, that morning quiet time where there's peace and serenity and the world is not bombarding you with text, WhatsApp, Signal, personal email, work email, like all of the above.
all of the above, yeah.
It's lovely. It's lovely.
So before we started recording here, and last time we talked about why I had this podcast
Hmm.
specifically. And so I wanted to talk about that just briefly here, ask you the question here, because my mom had this way of cutting through noise. And at one point, she just asked me, what would you do if you didn't have to do anything? Stopped me in
Mm.
my tracks. And my first answer was, of course, drink coffee and do cool stuff with people of purpose.
Yeah.
And so when you hear that question, what would you do if you didn't have to do anything? I mean, what comes up now at this stage of your career?
You know, one, your mom was a very wise woman. So, in memory of her, I'm so glad you're doing this. Two, I'm now at a point where I do love what I'm doing, meaning, listen, I'm going to turn 48 in July. And I kept asking myself, and I don't know why, but like the past year and a half, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? God, another job, another day. Or to quote my father, same sand, different shovel. I was burning out from corporate America. I'd had 5 C-suite roles. I was at AWS as their head of tech for North America for the startups division. Like, I had some big roles managing people, processes, transformations, and I was always a change agent. My goal was never to be at a company for 10, 15 years.
Right.
I would go in 2 to 3 years, develop the capability, build it. I was a change agent. I was the agitator. And I love that because I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie and I love the pace of going fast. But corporate politics, alignment discussion, those things were draining me and exhausting me. And so I was like, I can't just get another corporate gig. There's got to be something bigger. What's my purpose? What's my purpose? What's my purpose? Like every day, and it was just bugging me. And then one day, an aha moment came. I was on a run and I realized I was listening to a podcast and it ended. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to let the monkey chatter in my brain just dissolve and like
Yep.
run itself tired. I took off my earpods. I stopped listening to the podcast and I just ran. And my God, were the monkeys busy. But after 16 minutes, when they finally stopped chattering,
Uh-huh.
a moment of clarity came in. I am having an allergic reaction to this narrative that AI is a cost cutting tool and that we need to let go of the workforce in order to reap the benefits of artificial intelligence. The name of the game is not doing less, or the name of the game is not doing more with less. The name of the game is how do we create more impact, more value with who we have.
Yeah.
And that was the goal of AI when we first launched it in 2011 with Watson and IBM. How do we amplify individuals? How do we help outsource the mundane, the dull, the dangerous, the difficult data processing stuff and maintain critical thinking and creativity and problem solving? And so the aha moment came of like, we're going to market all wrong with this. This is not why AI was created. And what turned out to be a tiny little whisper turned into a big voice.
Good.
And like my purpose right now is very, very much hooked into the notion of security. Security of the workforce, security of humanity, security and preservation and longevity of like the future talent, the junior talent, my children who are 8 and 10 who are going to be AI native, not even digitally native.
No.
And it was about protecting humanity and course correcting a potential path that we are on. And also security of these large scale AI applications and systems to make sure that as we're leveraging this magnificent capability, we're doing so with governance. We're doing so with privacy intact. And so that's fulfilling me right now. But to answer your question, if I had all the money in the world, I'd probably still doing exactly what I'm doing. I would accept, take less Zoom calls, travel the world, and just meet people. And I would love nothing more than to take my kids with me. But right now, they're still young. They're 8 and 10, so they're in school. So we are local city bound because I can't just take them out of school whenever I want to. But I think that in
You
addition to
can,
that,
but there's ramifications. I'm just saying.
true. I would actually, now that you just gave me an idea, I would take them out of school. I would homeschool them with top of the top premier teacher for both of them. We would travel the world and we would educate. We would increase the literacy. We would just fundamentally teach people, companies, and communities how to leverage this capability for good, not for bad. And I would have my kids both be home tutored and watch in real life and in person and on the field what it takes to do something like this. But it would be education and literacy programs to make sure AI amplifies us and does not erode and displace us.
Well, I love that. I mean, it sounds, and it's okay to have the answer, what I'm doing now. What would you do? And that is the best answer in my world. Like, because I always look at this. We have this. There's always these visuals that I do on here, so the audio podcast never gets these. If I made fun of me because he says, What's up with the finger puppets?"
That's right. That's right. I gotcha.
But we have this North Star, which you talked about, your purpose, right? And so that's like the soul, not soul, the soul
Yeah.
who's doing that. And that's her purpose. That's her guiding spot. And she's living that purpose. She's doing exactly what she needs to do all the time, every time, in each case. And then there's soul. And sometimes goes this way. And you go, wait, what would the soul do? And you kind of go back. And you
That's
go,
right.
aim towards the middle again, you aim towards the middle, aim towards the middle. And the more times we can answer those kind of questions, like what would the me do, the one that's the embodiment of our purpose, the more I go, wow, kind of this, or I would do
Yeah.
this, but more.
And it's too bad that it takes most of us either burning out or getting uber frustrated or intolerant, ha
Mhm.
ha ha, going back to our original
Look at that.
conversation,
Early
of
call back
just
in the podcast. Way to go.
that's right. You like that? Salute. Or we become more intolerant to just what's going on around us. And I hit that point, but I hit all three at once. And I was like, no mas. The way I'm going to lead the future cannot be the way I've led the past. I'm too tired. I'm overworked. I'm always behind. I'm not enjoying life, even though I have these big, prestigious roles with these wonderful companies. There's got to be more to it. There just has to be. But you're too busy to often think about it. But when you take that moment, you're like, there has to be a bigger picture. So that's when I got out of the rat race for all intents and purposes. Well, the corporate rat race, I would say. I'm busier than ever. I can't even count. I don't even know which. Sometimes I have to call the hotel desk to ask what city I'm in and what time zone I'm in. Like, no
What's the time zone
joke.
here? I've done the time zone problem. I've had that one
I'll
before.
wake up. Yeah. And you don't know. And I was like, wait, I've hit 4 cities, which time zone and which hotel and what cities. Um, it's a first world problem because I do get to travel. Most people have a car commute. I have a plane commute. And it's different cities every single week. Busier than ever, always on the road. I have tremendous mom guilt with my 2 young kids, but my kids think that mommy's saving the world from robots taking over. So at least they're aligned with the purpose, if that makes sense.
So
Um,
Terminator has been like a childhood memory for them. Okay, here we go. We're gonna watch a kids movie today. This is
I
showing what
mean,
mom
I
is
should.
about.
That's a good call out. I'll have them watch Star Trek and Terminator. And
Here
I'll
we
be like,
go.
this
You
is the
got
path that mommy's trying to get us to go. This is the path mommy's trying to avoid us from going.
perfect.
No to Terminator, yes to Star Trek.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, to Star Trek. So I want to pull that a little bit. We talked a little bit about you talked about corporate America. So
Mhm.
what are you seeing is the biggest myth executives believe about AI right now? Because I think there's a fog of, I used to call it a fog of war, but a fog of AI. So what's the biggest myth you're seeing executives believe about AI right now?
I think there are several legs to that stool. I think one, everyone has a different definition of what AI is. You ask 5 people, you're probably going to get about 15 different answers. And so there isn't this unanimous view of what AI is and why we should do it. The second, everyone is learning and earning at the same time. You have specialists in academics and research. You have specialists in systems and applications. You have specialists in fine tuning these frontier models. You have consulting specialists who have deployed transformational programs at scale. But no one has done all of this end to end. And so there is no real expert. And so whether we hire management consulting firms, advisors, what it really means is you're buying someone that may have an inch of knowledge more than you, a few months of knowledge more than you, maybe even a year of knowledge more than you. But not a single individual has all the answers. And we are operating as if folks have the answer. So there's a lot more trial and error than successes. I always say running an AI initiative or an AI transformation program is like running a winery. You have to spend a lot of money to make a little bit of money. And it's something very, very similar. We are all learning and earning at the same time. And then I would say the last leg in the stool is I don't think most folks know that there is a difference between using AI versus doing AI. And these big operational ROI unlocks that everyone is being promised is by doing AI. So, what's the difference? Using AI is plug and chug a tool. We're using Copilot, we're using Gemini, we're using blah, blah, blah. Fantastic. You can summarize your emails and you can summarize note taking in meetings. That's not giving you these big ROI lifts. Doing AI is a different task, it's a different beast altogether. It's costly, it's time consuming, but that's where those real heavy ROIs kick in. And that is taking a function, taking responsibilities, decomposing it, tasks and subtask levels, and understanding what needs to be and could be outsourced to automation versus what needs to be maintained internally by that teammate because it requires critical thinking and discernment. I would say those would be the four legs in the stool.
All right, so I got to ask, how would you define AI?
Well, I don't think there's anything artificial in artificial intelligence. I believe in automated intelligence, augmented intelligence, anticipatory intelligence. But I don't think it's artificial. I don't think it's a fairy dust. But I do think it's machines being able to do the tasks and subtasks of a human being with massive compute power supporting it. So complex data processing, the mundane and the dull. Here's a trigger, here's an execute. I think it can do a great job of replicating tasks that don't require contextual understanding, actual empathy, critical thinking, and discernment. So it can be as simple as machine learning models to do price optimization for a new product. It could be as complicated as replicating the entire human genome to be able to combat a certain virus in a specific region.
So I love the distinction there. A lot of A's, a lot of AIs there. I often talk about actual intelligence, augmented intelligence, artificial intelligence. When I'm having that
Actual
conversation,
intelligence, it's a good one. I'm worried about the younger kids.
I didn't say it was common.
Yeah.
Like common sense, it's a superpower.
Right? It's a whole what's the difference between data, knowledge, and wisdom? Like I think about my 8-year-old, 10-year-old, and I adore the crap out of them. They're genius kids and they're brilliant as long as they have Wi-Fi connection. But when they lose Wi-Fi connection, they can become ding-dongs. It's almost as if they're like plugged into the matrix, if that makes sense. And as soon as the matrix is down, so are they, and they freak out and don't know what to do. And so, like as a parent in the age of AI, one of the things I'm trying to do is teach them common sense and critical thinking. And I have to remind them, use your cabeza. Where's your head? How would you solve for this? And sometimes they're impatient and intolerant. They don't want to do the work. And sometimes, but I'm like, no digital time until you know how to do it without the digital device.
I love that.
And they hate me for this, but digital time is not entitled time. They have to earn it. So for every 1 minute of reading, 1 minute of chess, or 1 minute of piano, they earn 1 minute of digital time. So I've got to develop both the right side and the left side because I have no idea how this world is going to unshape and unfold for them. Sometimes we'll go into an airport and I'm like, okay, find our way out. Like, what are you talking about? How do I do that? I'm like, well, look up and read the signs. Do you know what the word exit means? Like, I'm teaching them just basic survival primal skills that we take for granted. But because they weren't raised the way we were, they just don't have the foundation in place. So it's interesting.
I mean, gosh, it's been a while now where I'll say kids or just everybody these days has the access to all world's knowledge in their pocket on the little bundle slabs they carry around.
What good is all the data if you don't know what to do with it?
And it's that issue of cognitive offload.
Yes.
Yes. If I let technology do my thinking for me, I don't get better at doing thinking. I get weaker at it.
Yes. I always teach. I shouldn't say teach. I advise, I recommend, sometimes I teach. Everyone I talk to, outsource tasks, do not outsource thinking. If you want to have any relevancy in 5 to 8 years, it's not going to be how well you prompt engineer your way through a question.
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. So what decisions should never be delegated to AI, no matter how good the model is?
So I think AI is remarkable at finding the most efficient path, but it doesn't always mean it's the right path
Hmm.
because it may not be right for the relationship. It may not be right for the politics. It may not be right for historical events that have taken place. It may not be right for the preservation of what it is you're trying to build over the next 6 months, 2 years, 5 years. So when it comes to true data
Hmm.
processing and including all of the components that I've just mentioned, I don't think AI does a remarkable job of that. And so I think that's something we have to always take into consideration. The second thing is we talk about the word hallucination.
Hmm.
I don't think most people understand hallucination. Hallucination is when AI can't say, I don't know, so it makes up an answer. The implications of that is because we think it has all the answers,
Yeah.
we are gullible and naive to believing whatever it tells us, even if it doesn't know. So, as kids, if we don't know the answer to a test question, do we leave it blank or do we guess? We guess. Like,
Hmm.
hey, I'm going to have a 50-50 chance or 1 in 4 chance. I don't
Exactly.
know. Partial credit for crying
Yeah,
out
I
loud.
know how to get a zero, which is nothing. So let's go up
That's
from
right.
there. It's all win.
And so these frontier models, exactly, and these large language models are not incentivized to say, I don't know. They can't look dumb. So they will make up a response, but using our language and put it together in a very linguistic and sophisticated way, so much so that we believe it. And then we're like, that's a great response. And we copy and paste and we put it on a deck. We copy and paste and we put it on an email. And we don't verify. And like it could be and there's some really, really silly ones that we could spot. For example, I remember one of the parents had asked, how do I avoid cheese from sliding off a pizza? And ChatGPT said, add Elmer's glue. Okay. Well, that's just wrong. We all know that.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, outside of that one kid who was eating paste, or the one who was sniffing glue, we don't want
That's
it
right.
in our
That's right.
in our food chain. We don't
Or
want it
my
in our
kids, I
food
think, even once like, really? And I'm like, no, you don't need glue. Um, but you could be asking, hey, we're doing a new product launch. This is the demographic. What's the best way to communicate with them? And it's going to give you a response. Well, that's not a domain you know. So it's going to give you an answer. Well, do you just take it at fact level and go, okay, that sounds great? No, that's where your research really begins. And so I think that's the other aspect of it, if you will, is the hallucination is a problem.
chain.
And
Hmm.
unfortunately, unless you've developed critical thinking and discernment, and you use AI as almost like a first draft writer, a lot of folks are going to copy and paste and be gullible and believe what it says.
Yeah,
And that's just dangerous to us at all. Oh, and the other fun fact: 52% of all content on the internet is now AI generated. So it's creating its own slop.
that's
It's
bonkers,
Yeah,
actually. Just
hallucinations
considering
are now
how
starting to.
much data is out there now.
Yes, yes, and yes.
That
Can you believe it? In 2.5 years, we have surpassed all prior years. So you add AI slop on top of hallucinations, like we're creating an entire market of just what I call, instead of generative AI, generic AI,
or
just
degenerative
generic
AI.
and mediocre responses. Yep.
Yeah. I agree. The hallucinations here. We have created the most amazing con
Mhm.
man society has ever seen, and that's AI these days.
I mean, I won't,
It's
I'm
a
not that
confidence game,
pessimistic.
right?
Yes, yes. It is a competence game, but I think when you don't have competence in a specific area
Mhm.
and you trust the device, um, people are going to believe it. Like my favorite example is, I don't know if you ever saw the Office Space episode where
Mhm.
they asked GPS how to get somewhere. It says turn left, turn right. And they're like, I don't think this is right. It's starting to, and then they end up in the middle of the lake.
Yeah,
Um,
I do remember that episode. Yes. Okay.
yeah, that's a good one, right? That combined with the fact that the number one use case for ChatGPT right now is high school students and college students using it as a therapist.
Oh,
They are mistaking the communication as understanding and empathy, when in fact it's mimicking our language to communicate to us in a way that we understand. It is not empathy, it's a simulated behavior.
yeah.
It is not understanding, but it is a data aggregator. So there's so many wonderful things that can come from it, but like with every wonderful thing, too much candy leads to cavities. Too much freedom leads to loss of purpose. There's always a double-edged sword.
I think that's so true. And I like the trust but verify.
Always.
So
Good old Reagan had it right.
trust but verify. And the
Yep.
idea of competence and confidence. And sometimes we mistake the two. So if you are not competent, but very confident,
Oh yeah. What's
I
the
mean, there's
difference?
plenty of memes out there. It usually starts with, here, hold my Cosmo, or here, hold my beer. You know,
100%.
so I think that's, and AI shows up, but it is so confident in
Hmm.
areas that maybe you're not competent in, that you're not seeing it. And the point of this whole, like, the internet has become this echo chamber of AI slop. And so even if you were to go check it now, 52% of the time, if I don't have no competence in something, and 52% of the data out there is now done by AI, created by AI, greatest comm man ever. And now, now I go out and verify. I could be verifying a non-competent AI assertion on the internet against something that's confidence that I'm not competent in. Well, follow this train of thought, and then take it as truth, and then act
Yeah.
on it without necessarily having the discernment of what's happening here. And
Oh yeah.
and you mentioned, and that's that point of judgment also. We can never give up judgment. This doesn't seem right. You know what? How about I just slow down? Last time I checked, I can't go straight over this canyon. There's no bridge. Yes, it is the fastest way, but no, there's no bridge
Because,
there.
yeah, AI is great at being efficient. Doesn't mean it's right.
Doesn't mean it's right. Um, so I think that tilts a little bit towards governance around AI, like how companies look at it, how we treat it
Yeah.
in our lives. So, what should good AI governance look like when it actually works? Because I could say I govern something, and it's just like that means that's how many subscriptions to AI I have. I'm governing my costs on it. But what does good AI governance look like when
I
it
think
works?
there's, yeah, defensive, offensive, and an operational mode.
Okay.
Um, Defense is catastrophe happens, a wrong response is given, it's catastrophic. You can peel back, you can turn off, there's a shut off valve so that you could have enough time and space to course correct whatever needs to be
Hmm.
course corrected. In its most simplest forms, some companies were giving away free cars because of a chatbot promising, and they would take it. And in other cases, kids were having a dialogue with it and about suicide, and
Hmm.
it was giving responses around how to
Yeah.
tie a noose, shut off valve. Like it's a no go. That
Yep.
dialogue should have never even occurred past the person prompting. There should have been, please talk to someone you trust, your parents, your loved ones. It sounds like you're struggling. Like, not given instructions on how to tie you. So
Yeah.
there's the reactive governance of the shutoff valve. Then there's the proactive governance of the proper steps and procedures were taken to make sure that sensitive data, confidential data, toxic combinations of data are not released and privacy is utmost protected. So, in the creation of your bot, your chat bot, your machine learning model, your large language model, your small language model, there are no go zones, and you are proactively designing an environment and a capability that does not exploit sensitive, confidential data that shouldn't be out there, period. And then there's operational.
Okay.
Operational is really around being able to govern data that's at rest, meaning it's stored in databases and it's not being used.
Hmm.
Data in motion, meaning it's being leveraged by a variety of products and capabilities, and you are able to see in motion what's being passed back and forth, and that you are not having bad actors accessing unauthorized data. And then there's data in use, being able to, in the moment, understand when bad actors are starting to bubble up to the surface. So I think there's reactive, proactive, and operational ways of doing AI under the governance umbrella. Easier said than done, by the way. These are programs that you put in place years and years before you can manage and maintain at scale with flawless execution.
Yeah. I think simplicity is one of the hardest things to do. Complex is actually pretty easy. I think it's a Mark Twain quote or something. I'm
Mm.
sorry for the length of this correspondence. I didn't have enough time to make it succinct.
I love that. I love that.
Simplicity in practice and operations is often very hard because you have a lot of those bits and pieces that you want to
Yeah.
get into there. There's a lot of nuance there. For instance, you mentioned in that first sort of column, the need for a human in the loop type of kill switch or
Yeah.
stop switch, or these are just basic guardrails that need to be in place for physical human safety. I would say physical or psychological human safety. It's almost like the Isaac Asimov rules. Number one, don't harm a human. We get back to those rules of the robots, right?
That's funny.
Um,
It's been a while since I heard that reference.
White beard for a reason.
No.
I remember when I was 48. How's that? I remember that. I remember what it was like. Yeah, so it's interesting because it's right, building in the right guardrails at the right spots in order to do it. There's this whole little Venn diagram of like, what is the
It is,
sweet
because at
spot?
first it was protecting humans from animals.
Right.
Then it was protecting humans from environmental stuff.
Yes.
Then it was protecting humans from humans. And we're now pivoting of protecting humans from machines. Even though we're the ones that created the machine. So there could be like a micro flywheel back to protecting humans from humans.
Yeah. So how do you balance speed and safety without freezing innovation?
So I've always been under pressure to do that, which is interesting because I've always had to build the darn thing, but govern the darn thing at the same time. In the age of AI, the only way to make sure you are governing and innovating at the same pace is using AI native capabilities to combat the agitation and the race to the finish line that AI has created. So, for example, I'm building an AI product, and it could be financial advisors and a custom built knowledge repository so that when I'm talking to customers, I enter in the information into the knowledge repository, and it gives me potential services, product offerings, upsells, cross sells. Super, super basic use case.
Mhm.
All right, not rocket science. But that's going to require a lot of information,
Yeah.
product
A
information,
lot of access there.
customer cohort information. There's a lot of access that goes into that. It's a lot of manuals and PDF documents and et cetera, et cetera. So you have to use AI native capabilities that could go through and scan all that data and classify and tag it of this has HIPAA data, this has PII data. And then ultimately those are the tags, and then it classifies it as this is sensitive, this is confidential. Do not put these in the repository that everyone's going to access. So it's not that I'm stopping building the product, and it's not that I'm going through 9 months of manual labor of deciding in a subjective conversation with head of compliance, head of privacy, head of security, head of governance, head of information technology. But it is fundamentally, systematically going through and picking out information that, on a consensus basis, is sensitive and confidential, and on the fly classifying that information. So I have a heads up as to what I can ingest into that product and what I can't. That way, my conversations are only focused on the things that I can't, not the things that I can. And the things that I can't, deciding should it truly be tagged as sensitive and confidential, or is there some leeway for this particular product? So I think it's the only way to do it. You have to use AI native capabilities to be able to keep up with the speed.
So where do you see people, organizations messing that up the most?
I don't want to say they're messing it up. I just think that when you're in corporate, you're so busy back to back with Zoom calls, Teams calls, to dos, tasks, building desks or decks,
You've seen my
financial.
calendar.
Yeah, I know, right? Financial forecast, end of year, like strategy sessions. You don't have time to peel away and think and reflect and spend a week studying. You just don't. You're always underwater. So I don't think it's them messing up on purpose. I think it's just really hard to see the clouds from the sky and understand the bigger picture of how things could be done, because the old way of doing things does not apply to this new way of operating. And we're still trying to take the way we were doing things and ways of the past and applying it to the present. And it breaks down. It doesn't work that way. My way to speed up is actually to slow down. I have to dedicate think days. Like, that sounds so weird. Why do I have to block my calendar for think days? Because if I didn't, it would be countless Zoom meetings of just stuff.
Yeah.
They're important stuff, but stuff. So I have to block out think days to be able to stitch together conversations, articles, study, understand, so that I can see the clouds from the sky. And you just don't get that opportunity unless you're super disciplined and hyper vigilant about your calendar management.
Okay. Let's unpack that a little bit.
Mm.
What if
Mm-hmm.
I had my own personal digital twin or AI
Yeah.
agent that I trained for me to handle a lot of those operational tasks? Here's the parameters. Here's what I do. You're now my AI partner because I want more of those think days. I need to think the big
Yeah.
thoughts. I need
Yeah.
to consider the direction this road's taking us. But operationally, I need somebody that can attend that meeting, send me back a summary, and come back to it. Or maybe sort through the 5,000 unread emails I have, tell me the top 10 that I probably need to play with. Maybe even act as a chat bot for people who want like the low level conversation with me that I don't have time for. So I'm throwing a lot of that out there, but what do you think about that? Where individuals like you or me or executives, where we have this almost trained knowledge
Yeah.
base that can handle, they can be our own support desk, our own help desk. You show up, you do this, you take care of this, schedule for me, let me know what I need to pay attention to while I'm doing the big thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, God, could you imagine a day? That would be amazing. I think that's a great closing question. And the way I would answer that is, while we are in transition, I'm not sure yet. Everyone is going to have a different boundary with what they're willing to accept. But I know, and I know with some of the people that I work with, that if I were to send a digital avatar of myself, it would not go over well. We're not there yet, but it doesn't mean we won't be in a year. So my answer would be different. For right now, everyone's response is different on the spectrum to how far they want to go with AI capabilities, avatars, digital replications, digital twins, etc. I personally wouldn't go there yet. A lot of what I do is still human to human. A lot of what I do is still based off of credibility in terms of my mind share and my thinking. But what I don't do is have low level conversations anymore. I have to be extremely discerning and disciplined with my time. So if someone just wants to talk for the sake of talking, I can't afford it anymore. So I say no. Why even send them a digital avatar? If it's not aligned to the purpose or the mission, and if it doesn't feed the ultimate goal or give me energy, it's a clear and definite no. It's not even worthy of a digital avatar. If, however, it is worthy of my time, but I can't get to it, then clearly it's not a priority. I punt it. I allocate about 1 to 2 hours a week for non-critical conversations.
Okay.
If it's over 1 to 2 hours, it gets punted to the next week. And if that week is full, it gets punted to the third week. I'm willing to have it for the greater good because of a reference, an introduction, whatever it may be. But if it's non-critical, 1 to 2 hours. So my time, unfortunately, at this point has to be focused on the things that matter. And then when we cross that chasm of now, it's acceptable, it's a way of working, potentially.
Well, this conversation has been fantastic, Sol.
Thank
I know
you.
we could talk for days and weeks and months on this, or maybe have our avatars get together and have that conversation later.
Could you imagine?
Later.
One day. Yep.
How can people stay in touch with you or follow your work?
So I'm on LinkedIn. I'm very, very active there. I've just started on Instagram and TikTok because my publisher and some peers of mine are like, you got to get going on the other channels. So those are there. I also have a website, www.solrashidi.com. It talks about patents. It talks about frameworks. There's keynotes, there's podcasts, there's publications right on Business Insider and Fast Company and stuff. And then I'm a writer for Forbes. So any articles you want to read or write, everything's there. So it's kind of a consolidation, I'll also be at Davos next week launching my platform called the Human Amplification Index. It's a way for businesses to measure that with the deployment of AI, are you strengthening your workforce in the process or actually weakening it with what you've deployed? Because the human side of it is really important to me, and I want to make sure that all businesses succeed. And I do think that that X factor element is when you optimize business and you optimize your individuals to come together for that big, grandiose, ROI that everyone's willing to unlock. But you can't ignore the people side of the house. So the website, LinkedIn, and the social channels.
Fantastic. I'll put lots of links into the show notes.
Oh, thank you.
This has been a pleasure. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Let's keep drinking coffee and doing cool stuff.
Indeed.